when I returned to work, one of my biggest problems when I started applying for mainstream jobs, as opposed to jobs reserved especially for people with mental illness, was the gap in my employment history. I retired from the public service in 1988, 2 years after falling unwell, where I tried to continue working but I just couldn't. And then it was 2002, I think, or 2003, before I returned to work. That's a 15-year gap in your resume. Applying for mainstream positions, bosses will look and say, well, what were you doing for those 15 years? At 52 years old, I've applied for jobs in record stores, bookstores, areas of interest where I know I'm good, and I know I have been a salesman in younger years. I think I would succeed in those jobs. I can't get as far as an interview. And I think that's a prejudice not just against people with mental illness, because I do like to disclose, it's also a prejudice against older workers. Often, as a consumer, as a person living with mental illness, you will be older when you return to work because the recovery process can take time. Everybody's accustomed to people taking a mental health day. Some of us take mental health decades. I've held now 4 different jobs reserved specifically for people living with mental illness. I'm currently only holding down one. I had issues in my life where I was beginning to fall unwell through grief and bereavement issues, so I essentially jettisoned 2 of the jobs because it was too much for me, and that was to preserve my mental health. And as great as it is to have work and to have extra money coming in and to have the self-esteem of work, sometimes you actually have to say, well, no, my mental health is more important. I can't do 2 things at once. I have to go back into recovery mode and I have to take a break. The last job that I left, though, unfortunately, was nothing to do with mental illness at all. I had another health issue, a physical health issue, which prevented me from driving, and an inherent requirement of the job was that you had to be able to drive. In fact, to this day now, I still hesitate to drive long distances because of trouble with my feet. So I could no longer take outings for the day program. That was just unfortunate because it was a wonderful job. So it's not always just about your mental health, it is about your physical health. And your physical health and your mental health lead each other by the nose. If you're physically down in the dumps because of illness or virus, you'll often find that your mental health begins to deteriorate as well. If for some reason pressures are making your mental health deteriorate, you may find you look after yourself less and your physical health begins to deteriorate. So a holistic view on behalf of the practitioners who treat you, if you're lucky to find that doctor, hold on to him or her.